Hi, welcome to a Nerdarchy video for nerds by nerds. I'm Nate, the Nerdarch.
Dave.
Ryan.
Ted.
And tonight we're going to be discussing, or today, whenever you're watching this video.
Whenever you happen to be watching,
yeah. We're going to be discussing a game of Fate we just played. And I did it
Fate,
again.
well, Fate Accelerated.
Yes.
Excelsior!
Yeah. And character generation was extremely easy and laid back. And in fact, I didn't have a character concept when I first came to the game, late.
And actually didn't know anything about the game system when you sat down in the chair. There's a little backstory.
Which was intimidating until I played for about 10 minutes and realized I didn't need to know anything before I started. So it was a really good experience for me.
And, I guess me and Ryan came in with this conception that we had to have realistic type characters, sort of. At least I did.
I think it was also a little more preference, because in Fate you could do just about absolutely anything. Anything short of like God mode, Superman sort of characters.
Yeah.
So it's pretty open ended. So I don't know. We just got done this awesome game with GM Scott, and wanted to share it with you guys. What do you everybody think? Who wants to go first?
I'll jump in. I decided to, kind of break the quote-unquote standard human bell curve, and I did up an alien shapeshifter. And the thing I liked best about Fate was that's all you need. Give the person, give your GM your concept in a sentence or two, and that just
you know what? It's so
fast.
Let's run through it real quick. I'll run through it real quick. So essentially, all you got to do to create a character for this game is come up with your name, your high concept, which is just like basically a sentence,
right?
And then 2 to 3 other aspects, and your trouble, which is the problem that you have, whether assassins are chasing you or what's your problem?
Secret identity, because I'm an alien.
You had a problem?
Yeah, well, we can go into character concepts, but yeah, because I think character concept is important to explain troubles, because it's got to be relevant to your character.
Right. So, and then after that, you had your approaches, which in any other game,
it's like your stats.
Your stats, basically. And then from there, you could do your stunts.
Well, let's talk about, so approaches, it's almost like a stat array, because, they're all the same sort of, there's a preset bonuses. You just assign where those bonuses are going to go, and you go from, you have one thing that you're really awesome at, there's 2 things you're pretty good at, there's another 2 things you're competent, and then there's one thing, you probably shouldn't try to do this unless worst case scenario, you're kind of boned. So, yeah, really.
And the breakdown of stats, you've got careful, clever, flashy, forceful, quick, and sneaky. And they really are just, kind of how it sounds. You got your wisdom, you got your intelligence, you got your charisma, you got your strength, you got your dexterity. They've thrown con out the window, and they applied your stealthy type situation.
Although I gotta say, like, forceful is a really interesting, because everything's super open-ended, and there's a lot of wiggle room with a given thing. Like, forceful for my character is not a brawny bruiser. He's a scientist. I basically made, like, Bill Nye the Science Guy, was my character. He's a brilliant scientist who also happens to be a kiddie show host named Dr. Science. And forceful is in my basically your main stat is at a +3. So clever, that was for me. Forceful is at a +2, which for this, like, dweeby science guy, like, that doesn't really sound like it'll apply, right? But when you get into him, like, doing chemistry and things like that, he can make, like, big, impactful explosions and things like that. Well, like, he's never going to go toe-to-toe with anybody ever.
It's your brute force.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter where it comes from.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't have to come from muscles like Nate's character.
Yeah, I play a Neanderthal, so definitely got the physical forcefulness.
But, a bunch of the stats are kind of like that. Clever is, basically your intellect, your intelligence. Quick is your speed, hand-eye coordination, reaction, that kind of stuff. But then careful is an interesting one. Careful is your ability to plan and think things through long term, where clever is thinking fast on your feet and probably like sheer intellect. And then, you have sneak, which is really interesting because sneak is physically sneaking, or it could just be blatant deception.
Bluff.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing that's really interesting about the system is, like, all of these stats are super open-ended, and they're called approaches because when a problem is presented to you, it's up to you to pitch to the GM. Like, sometimes it's going to be super obvious, but sometimes if you can explain it really well, you can use an approach that he might not typically have thought. I mean, ultimately the GM can say no, but you can try to frame it so it's something that you're another way around the situation.
You can say, can I come up with a clever way to get through this, or can I solve this quickly? You know, and you can, if you can give them a reason or a method by which you're going to go through this, that the GM can let you try that stat out or that approach.
Right. So from there, we got a little sidetrack. Go ahead, explain your character, Ted.
Yeah, okay, so like I said, I made an alien shapeshifter, as that's his high concept. His trouble is he's got a secret identity. He's essentially infiltrated a world of humans, and if somebody realizes that he's an alien, that could be a problem. You get three aspects or things that you can try to draw strength from. I basically picked that I'm fighting alongside the humans, so if I'm ever going to draw on that, I can get a bonus. And World Traveler, and I left one open. World Traveler means, you know, as it sounds, I've done all kinds of stuff. I went through my approaches. I chose Clever because, you know, when you're trying to infiltrate, I thought Intelligence was the most important. Sneaky and Forceful were my +2s. Quick and Careful were my +1s. And hey, if you're trying to blend in, you don't want to stand out and be flashy, so that was my 0. And I started off the game with only one stunt, leaving one open, which was, as a shapeshifter, I can get a +2 to assume an identity of someone after 30 minutes of study. So that allowed me to really take on a role if I wanted to become someone specific. And that's it. That's my entire character.
Well, did we explain stunts very well? Like how they come about? How do you derive them? Where in the book do you find the stunts, Ted? No, I mean not page count. It's super interesting.
It's pretty open-ended,
no,
right?
I mean, basically, you know, the stunts are similar to your aspects. It's just, you know, I want to do this in this particular situation. You just say, all right, like I just said, I'm a shapeshifter, so I want to assume an identity after 30 minutes of study. It's a simple breakdown. And the more specific you make your stunt, the more often you can use it. The broader you make it, it tends to go into a once a session type of situation.
Right. Yeah, so they're super interesting because basically you can call them whatever you want. Like it's pretty cool. They're the ones, if you don't assign them right away, they just kind of evolve throughout gameplay. It's like, you know what, I want my character to be able to do this on a regular basis. So you come up with a specific thing.
And poof, it happens.
Yeah, so I'll go into my dude here. So Dr. Science, a.k.a. Peter Venkman. Some of you may be familiar with where the name came from. So yeah, basically he's attired as a typical like 1940s, 1950s mad scientist. Basically, he was yoinked from the set of the kiddie show that he hosted. It's not really how he dresses, but yeah, I thought it'd be really fun to walk around like that. And his high concept, brilliant scientist and kiddie show host. His trouble is, I find that highly illogical. Meaning that like, we ended up through the course of the game ending up in a fantasy realm, and like things did not compute. And
well, fantasy meets sci-fi, futuristic.
Right. So like, you know, he had a bit of dissonance going on there. Was not happy about things, and just does not really get like, you know, like uncalled for violence and things like that. Like we didn't really have any violent encounters happen in this session, but he's going to be the guy like hiding behind the crates and barrels, trying to like make a device to distract people while he can run the hell away, or otherwise help the party. He's not going to fight anybody.
I kind of disagree. There was violence potential that we diffused.
We role played through it. Certainly. Let's see. So that happened. As far as his aspects go, I have a couple of PhDs in many publications, so he's kind of a know-it-all. And he's good under pressure, which came into effect a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of tense situations, so lots of reasons to get a bump to different approaches. As far as stunts go, he has the power of science, which gives him a +2 to forceful if a scientific approach would be useful to gain advantage or overcome an obstacle. The world is your laboratory. +2 to clever when finding materials to make things to overcome the situation. So basically improvising. If he has to MacGyver some crap, he can do it. And then like approaches, his prime stat is clever at the +3, careful and forceful are at +2s, flashy and quick at +1. Flashy is like he's a TV personality, so he has to have a personality. And then +0 for sneaky because he's pretty straightforward. So yeah, that's my dude in a nutshell.
Nice. So my guy, I came up with the concept of, let's start with the name, Harold T. Richardson III. And basically, you know, my high concept, conservative Bible-thumping Vietnam vet survivalist type. So he's a little crazy. He's kind of waiting for the zombie apocalypse or rapture, whatever happens first. You know, he's ready. Lives off the grid. You know, it's just him and his dog. So his trouble is save your souls whether they want it or not. You know, he's constantly trying to get people to convert them to Christianity and convince them, you know, rapture's going to happen, so you don't want to get stuck here, hell on earth. And sometimes that could get him into trouble because not everyone wants to hear about that. And then, you know, I had to debate some philosophy in the game. My other aspects are my buddy Bo, which is my dog, certainty of faith, and not my first rodeo. Now, I started the session with 2 of those. The third one, not my first rodeo, I got rodeo, whatever it is. I got basically dubbed with because of the situation that happened in the game where I had to ride a horse, which is kind of cool. And I started the game with no stunts. But due to background stuff that happened in the game through the GM, I was like, well, you know what? He's kind of a defender, and because he was put in a position where basically he had to bail on people and let them perish and save himself or try and help him. So he chose to try and help him. I'm like, you know what? That would make a great stunt. So basically, anytime I'm trying to defend, protect, or assist others from harm, I get a bonus. And then my other one is Bo knows. So anytime I can use my dog in a physical situation or help me with survival tactics and stuff like that, I get a bonus. And then my approaches were careful, clever, flashy, forceful, quick, and sneaky. And, you know, I went with careful as my top and flashy as my bottom. So, you know, that was my guy in a nutshell. And, you know what, I think I got the win for the night because I introduced Christianity to the WoW world.
Right, there you go. If you watch the video, you'll get to see how that unfolded of the session. Yeah.
And the character that I made just this night right before I started playing was Tanakh, the Neanderthal. And there's a little fantasy element in it because he was from a clan of Neanderthals that were kind of, their shaman leader was a saber-tooth, basically able to shape change. So I'm kind of like this human rage issue where I start to take on the form of saber-tooth, kind of like an in-between, but not really one. So it's kind of, basically people know that something's up with me when I get really angry. Kind of like Hulkish, but I don't get gigantic and green. I'm already gigantic. So some of the aspects I have is primal movement and speed, parkour, and I also have one of my stunts is being able to best any standard human in a fight, which I get like a +2 to a physical fight. Like, so physical conversation, my finesse and strength against them, I'm going to beat them out. And also hunter-gatherer +2s. So for approaches, I took careful as a +1 because he's kind of like, you know, hunters got to make sure they're not getting attacked by wolves or any other crazy things. And sometimes you're hunting things that could kill you. So back in the Neanderthal day. So clever, I got a +1 because I'm also, again, that hunter intelligence. Flashy, really, if it gets the job done, I don't think I care, so I had a 0 in that. Forceful had a +2, quick I had a +3, and sneaky I had a +2. And those are kind of go along with the hunter-gatherer, the power and finesse of primal fighter, and that was pretty much it. And it was really quick and easy.
Well, you had something interesting in the game happen too.
Oh yeah. Also, because we were in WoW, basically, right?
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
I didn't know at
WoW
first.
meets Space Marines.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an interesting thing with the constructed worlds and the we'll talk. You'll see that in the video probably. But constructed worlds and unbound worlds like magic worlds and the physical worlds.
All you need to really know is Nate's character got bathed in goat's blood by the orcs, and his strength went up.
Yeah. So they blessed me.
So you WoW players, seek out the shaman, the orc shaman with the goat's blood. If that's in there, I don't know.
It's a good thing for you.
It's a good
So
thing.
it's apparently really good that we didn't encounter anyone that we really had to be flashy, because between the four of us, that's a +1.
That
We're
is a
not,
plus
we're not
one.
flashy people.
No.
No.
That's
So,
true.
so the game was a lot of fun. It's very open-ended. It's kind of like very rules light.
Yeah.
If you're into tactical games, not for you.
Walk away.
Yeah.
I loved it. I feel like it was one of the most fun games I've played in a long time. I just like the style.
Yeah, well, so getting back to like the way the interesting interactions, the aspects happen, if you can justify how that aspect functions into the role, plays into the role, right? Like we're talking about our flashy not being very, very strong amongst the party. If we were in like the real world that 2014 that most of our characters came from and inhabited, I would get a bonus if I cashed in a fate point for my high concept of kiddie show host. Like like if it's something that people have heard of me, I would be a celebrity. But when you're out of your element and you're traveling through time and space, no one knows who the heck you are. But I mean, that's the cool thing about the aspects is like sometimes they play into the game, into the gameplay, but sometimes they're so situational where they, where they really aren't.
You mentioned fate points, and that's another thing that was pretty neat. I mean, so some of the D&D editions that we've played, they've had hero points, and they kind of come and go. But the fate points, you start each session off with 3, or however many you had last session, whichever is higher, and you get to trade them in, as well as earn new ones, each session, and you trade them in for use of your aspects, if you can justify it to the DM. And I thought that was pretty neat, because you've got this give and take, and I'm usually like reserves, like, oh, I don't want to spend these, but at one point in time I had 6 of them. I'm like, all right, I gotta start spending these, and
I know I couldn't spend them fast enough; they wouldn't go away.
and I don't know. The GMs that are out there, whether they're as generous as Scott was, or whether Scott was more lenient than the average GM. But it always seemed like if you had a really clever idea, it's like, oh, well, we'll just give you that one for free. And he'd hand you the chip back. And I'm like, wow. So I know I started off at 3. I earned like 4 or 5 of them. I spent all my extra, ended the game with 3. I know you ended with 6.
Yeah, I got 5.
Oh, 5
written
okay.
down here. So that's really interesting, because you have that economy in the game of the fate points where they come and they go, and like you said, we've played other games with that kind of mechanic, but they always reset.
Well, but here's the interesting mechanic that we didn't get into with Fate, is you can spend them against other players, or they could be spent against us. So we didn't get into actual like real physical combat. So that could have been a thing that they would have started getting spent more as like, because combat is like life and death, right, versus like role-playing stuff, which is mainly what happened, that those fate points probably would have went by the wayside a lot quicker if we were, when people are like coming at you with a sword, an axe, or a gun, like,
I want to live,
I want to not die or be hobbled, or
I don't want to eat the humans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's because sometimes you don't want to eat the humans, and you gotta spend your fate points, but if you watch the video, you'll see where that happened. Now, and the other thing, Scott was actually a great GM for this as well, because, like, there was a lot of combat that he had planned in there, I think, that just never happened because we just kind of worked around it. We talked our way out of it. We solved problems. He was like, oh, that's okay, and he just rolled with it. So it made it for a lot of fun. And it's not like we didn't address conflict. The whole session was conflict. But we had other mechanics for resolving that conflict other than violence.
Right.
And 2 of the 4 characters are basically designed for violence, and the other 2, one is more like your wizard or your controller in other games, and the other one's more like I don't know, you're like our smart bard.
I'm a smart bard, smart rogue.
Something.
I don't know.
The face that doesn't want to be seen.
Well, but I mean, outside of like different games and different styles of gameplay, like RPG, like your typical fantasy role-playing game, you're hobos with shotguns. You go, you kill and take everything, you know, like that's the whole economy of the game is about killing things and getting their treasure and leveling and wash, rinse, repeat. And in this situation, like, my character doesn't want to fight, harm, or do anything to anybody. He's like, he just got charged with this adventure to go on, but he really doesn't want to hurt anybody or be hurt by anybody. So he's not seeking to, you know, to do that.
Well,
like
and the whole game's story-driven. So, like, as players, we're not actually incentivized to go out and kill stuff and take their kill things and take their stuff. We're incentivized to just interact with the story.
Right. Well, I mean, and also, like, I don't think none of us spend a ton of time reading the rules even. So, like, that shows you, like, really the person that only really needs to know the rules is the GM. Because I skimmed over the character generation stuff, really. But, you know, like, yeah, so you get, like, XP for killing things in, you know, your standard RPG. But, like, it's almost got, like, a Mutants and Masterminds feel where, like, I read a little bit about that where there's like milestones and you'll get like points to spend or whatever. I don't know.
I don't even know. I didn't even look.
Yeah, like I think at a certain point, so you get to like level up your approaches, or you like might be able to buy a new aspect.
That's kind of important too to let people know is 2 of us came to the game with characters and 2 of us didn't. And we literally pretty much spent like 10-15 minutes on Ted's character. Tops. And then we spent like 10 minutes on Nate's character in 5-minute increments. So like it was during the play that his character was built. Because, you know, it really is. It's like you just got to come up with like, you know, a handful of sentences and that actually defines your character and pick your approaches and put them where you want them. So
it really is quick and simple. And you can leave so much of the character blank. You need at least one aspect to start. But you can leave your stunts blank, have 2 aspects blank, and you walk into the game and say, okay, well, the first time something comes up that I think I can use, let me just throw that in there. Right. And, you know, it gets decided on the spot. So it's just, there's not much to the character sheet. And yet, you can leave some of it blank and just start playing. It was incredible.
It was a lot of fun. You know, when we originally were talking to GM Scott about running the game, we said, hey, why don't you just make up the characters and give them to us and we'll play? Because we just as Nerdarchy, we want to experience more games.
Different types of games.
And show you guys what's out there and what we're playing and our opinions. So we don't want to waste time on building characters. Like, dude, it will take 30 minutes. Don't worry about it. Just come and we'll make the characters. And like, I don't know, like 2 days ago, he sent us a PDF, a free PDF you can download. Because you can go to the Fate site and you can download the Fate Accelerated rules for free. Or you can pay what you want. They have like a couple options or whatever. And really, I just glanced at them last night and made the character. You know, mainly from looking at the examples.
Right. Yeah. Really, like the last pages, like you just see these examples they set for you. That really sets you up.
I was really kind of confused when I was reading how to build the character until I flipped to the back and looked at the examples, and I was like, oh, it really is that easy.
The only thing I knew about the Fate system before we started playing was that the Fate dice are 6-sided dice. They got 2 pluses, 2 minuses, and 2 blanks. And you roll the dice.
It's like HeroScape. It's like playing HeroScape again.
You know, you roll the dice, and it's like, okay, well, if they come up with more pluses, you're better at it. You roll negatives, you didn't do so good. And that was all I knew. I didn't know how many dice. I didn't know how pluses work.
I didn't even know that.
Inside of 5 minutes, it was like, okay, you know, this is simplistic. You know, I knew, okay, well, like, all right, if I make a clever check, it's +3. Well, am I adding 3 to the roll, or am I adding 3 more dice? It's like, I don't know what it is. I was, waiting for that, but I mean, it was really simple to just get a character done and get played.
Fastest game learned ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's super sweet, easy pickup game. I mean, it remains to be seen if we ever like graduate into Fate Core or whatever. If you guys have had experiences with Fate Core, like you can give us a little blurb about it. I mean, I'll probably do a little bit of research into it too. I'm a little curious what that adds to the gameplay experience.
Yeah, I think I looked at a character sheet from that game, and there's only a couple more spots on there, like 2 more spots, and honestly, you know, when you guys think about it, you think of a game that's really rules light and there's not a whole lot to it. Then you start thinking that it's limited. But I found with this game, it felt the opposite. Yeah. It felt like you could pick up any type of game you wanted to play in any world and just run it in this system and just go.
You know what it made me think of a little bit? Mutants and Masterminds. Like, instead of having, like, you know, like damage values or whatever that Mutants Mastermind does, like, you can literally, you know, like, just come up with anything and it's just going to be bonuses against your core stats. Whereas, like, Mutants and Mastermind has all these different powers you can take that kind of affect what you can do, but this, you can, like, literally just dream up anything.
Right.
And,
but then
I mean, it's a different style of gameplay, absolutely. But
you know, Mutants and Masterminds is still crunch heavy. I mean, it's still a D20 system.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of baggage that comes with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is like a reductive. Yeah. If you take the more simplistic elements of Mutants and Mastermind, like they're just like, I'm reskinning these aspects, and you take that bit, that simplistic bit, and then map it on, you know, you have the Fate system game.
But you know, for all that, it didn't feel like it was missing anything.
No.
I didn't feel like there wasn't anything that I wanted to do that I couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to keep this huge inventory of equipment or stuff. Basically, right, that first line, that high concept you come up with, you know, conservative Bible-thumping Vietnam vet survivalist type. Well, if you're a crazy survivalist guy that lives off the grid and kind of hunts for his own food, you know, the GM's going, oh, you automatically have a couple guns, and you said you always carry your Bible on you, okay, and a survival knife and your dog, done. Yeah. You know, there's no, you didn't have to justify it or explain it.
I said I'm an alien shapeshifter, and after, you know, there's no space on here for equipment, you know, and the GM is just like, okay, well, you know, you can have a laptop, a knife, you know, a pistol, just, you know, let me know what you think you should have, and you just have it, and it's like, oh, you don't need to tell me now. Just go ahead and think about it. And we just get back to playing. And it never came up. So it's like, well, I guess I have more time to think about what am I carrying with me.
You don't have to worry about carry weight.
Oh, yeah.
How much copper pieces something costs, which is really fantastic.
Yeah. Playing shopkeep / inventory master is definitely one of the least funs about your standard sword and sorcery, because a lot of times I would end up burdened with that duty, and like when you're just filling out sheet after sheet of like 20 short swords, 15 suits of scale mail. Like
but even just on your own character, and you're like looking at your encumbrance going, all right, I'm good. I have a light load as long as I don't pick up 2 pounds of worth of anything.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I don't miss that. Like that does not really add that much fun to the game. You know, this, although, you know, maybe it's not as much realism, but it wasn't any less fun.
I think you could absolutely.
I was playing Alien Shapeshifter. I don't know how much realism you really need to take.
I mean, like, so say you take that into a sci-fi bent, but like it's not like I am not carrying oodles of like scientific gear on me or anything. Like, so I mean, the level of realism you want to play, I think, is really based on your group and your GM. Like,
the mechanics are there because we had, you know, you had the scenario aspects. So I guess as the GM, you could just place a scenario aspect on someone of going, oh, so you're carrying all this stuff, -2, you know, to certain tasks. Right. It's really like that easy. Right. And then you might go, you know what, I'm going to spend a fate point to go, that doesn't bother me right now because my adrenaline's pumping. Oh, damn, your adrenaline's pumping. I didn't even think about that. Okay. You know, so like, it is almost, in some ways, it's like the rules lawyer's wet dream.
Well, I mean, if you can justify it, but then again, any GM like gets to shoot down whatever, you know, that doesn't hold water. So I mean, really, like, you can try to power game it if you want, but it's like, all right, well, no.
Well, no, it's not power gaming. It's just everything's so open to interpretation.
Right. Well, it's like playing make believe, you know, in a way. Like, so I'm gonna do this. Well, I don't see any reason why you can't do this. So go ahead, roll it up. Let's see if fate is on your side.
It's this hard to do.
Yeah.
You beat a 4.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think in a nutshell, that's Fate accelerated the game. We got to check out the core rules. You know, I could I could stay happy just playing this version of the game indefinitely at this point.
Oh yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
So,
I heartily enjoyed it. You know, for a long time I was D20 core. Didn't want to stray from just Dungeons and Dragons, and you know, with us exploring these new settings, you know, it's been an enjoyable little road.
oh no, Ted's broken. His eyes have been opened wide to
So
other games.
you know what we need is a big ass rubber stamp that we can stamp on things. Nerdarchy approved. So like games that work for us. Yeah, we definitely
So with that, you know, comment below if there's any games that you want us to check out. We have some things that are on our list that we're going to hopefully be bringing to you soon. But you know, let us know what you'd like to hear us check out.
Yeah, or if you've had your own experiences with the games, you know, the aforementioned games that we're talking about in a given time.
Chime in, tell us your funny stories or your epic conquests.
Your crazy character concepts that you've brought into Fate. Yeah.
Of course, all this is after you click like and subscribe.
Yep, like, click, comment, subscribe, and guess what?
We have Facebook
And a website, nerdarchy.com.
and Twitter.
And Twitter.
Instagram.
Everywhere.
Pretty much wherever.
We're everywhere. It's like syphilis.
Ooh, I don't know if
only prettier.
I don't know if I want to be compared to syphilis. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Like a bad rash that won't go away.
Awkwardly until next time.
Stay nerdy, my friend.